And now,
it's 10 a.m.
let's just get down to it.
And it's time for your sports fix.
Strap yourselves in, folks.
From two guys who have covered the teams you're passionate about for years.
We are professionals.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, happy Monday, 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone. Is this because Ozzy is stepping away from music?
Apparently he's not Iron Man. His body did break down.
I told you I saw Black Sabbath a couple years ago, and I was shocked at how good he still sounded.
Sounds good. Even in his whatever final concert, he sounded fine.
Movement, not his thing. He just kind of stood there.
Yeah.
But sounded fine.
I think Saturday he was in a chair the whole time, like a throne.
Yeah. Not a surprise.
Yeah. Well, he has advanced Parkinson's disease, so.
That is the voice of Christian Esparza, the producer of the show, who is back and healing nicely. Ben, cosmetic surgery is still surgery after all.
It is.
And it does take some recovery.
But I thought it was jail.
It is good to see it. No,
that was our cover.
We thought it was, but then we saw you today.
We were
and
trying to cover for you.
Obviously, you had a procedure.
Yeah.
That's cool, though. You know, it's all right.
Well, when the eyelids start hanging over your eyes, you got to get the eyelid reduction surgery.
It's a thing. No, Christian is back from the great North Midwest, which I remember I did a North Woods vacation with my whole family when I was a kid. And, man, Christian, it sounds like you had a blast. That part of the country is really cool.
They say it's the land of 10,000 lakes, and that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Lakes and lakes and lakes and lakes. I told you, I was surprised the Mississippi River goes up that high. I truly was up there, and I was like, wait, this is the Mississippi River?
It starts there, yeah.
It's like, well, how does it start here? That's the entire country. But that's why I'm an idiot. Bad at maps.
You need some geography work, it sounds.
Need to go back and
start
seventh grade over again. Billy Madison style.
Well, there's these things called tributaries, Ben.
Yeah. Anyway, it's cool. It's a cool state.
Anyway.
But glad you're back. Thanks to Hatch and Parker for filling in last week.
Did you wear cutoff jean shorts the whole time?
Just basketball shorts.
Oh, okay. Not the cutoff jean short, which is...
It's a little too humid for the jorts.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
My wife pointed out to me this weekend that they are making a comeback.
Mm-hmm. They're fully back.
They're fully back. So.
Not even cutoffs, just like the baggy jean shorts, the cutoff jean shorts, it's all back.
I mean, Christian being the hippest by far of the three of us, I would expect him to be in the jorts the entire vacation. But no, basketball shorts?
Yeah, it's very, very humid, very wet.
Are
sticky.
those back too? Basketball shorts?
I've always been. We had this. I was the kid that wore basketball shorts during the winter.
Yeah. Adam Sandler style. Second Adam Sandler reference in the show already.
All right, Ben, how was your fourth?
Good. All my fingers and toes. I stayed inside. I watched fireworks from my window, and then I went to bed. Smoked some wings. Got the smoker out, which I hadn't done in a while, which is great.
Yeah, if you were going to move that thing, which you did.
Which I did.
Oh, yeah, Ben. Get some hot wings.
Got to use it.
And I did, and they were great.
But stayed around your perimeter then.
I did. I did not leave.
Well, that's good.
You?
We went to the Holiday one, the Holiday City Park.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a resident of Holiday, I'm poaching off their hard-earned tax dollars.
Yeah.
And I don't know. We saw a lot of jorts. There was a lot of jean shorts.
Yeah, for sure.
I was very surprised. But the firework thing was quite good. Even though that is not my thing. My kids were pretty dedicated to the cause of going down there. But it was good. It was
great holiday.
There's some country guy singing whose bass player is our friend Johnny Lightfoot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shout out Johnny.
So it was a delicious evening of country music and fireworks.
Great.
To celebrate this great country. It was fun.
Johnny was in Air Supply?
Yeah.
And is the nephew or somewhat something of Gordon Lightfoot?
Yeah.
One of my favorites? Yeah. Strange Life.
And, yeah. And now tours with this guy, Chris something. I don't know.
Great. Chris Stapleton, probably.
No, I don't think so. He did have his own tour bus, though, which really impressed me. I was like, oh, hey.
Does he live in it?
I think he said it was...
Do you think he lives in it?
No, I get the impression he's a bigger deal than that.
Okay.
I think he said he was from Roosevelt.
Okay.
I don't know. You could Google him right now.
Yeah,
You
neither
probably
here nor there.
figure it out.
Yeah, doesn't matter.
I don't know about the local country circuit. He didn't sing about a dog dying, though, which was nice, as was my previous experience with country music and our promo that has been running. More upbeat than that.
Yeah.
Oh, man. All right, Ben. A ton of Jazz stuff, including, obviously, news this morning of a trade. And I'm curious to get your take, obviously, on Summer League and the young players. But the Clippers, the Jazz, and the Heat agreed to a trade. Norman Powell goes to Miami. John Collins to the Clippers. And Kevin Love and slow-mo Kyle Anderson and a Clippers 2027 second-round pick are coming to the Jazz, Ben.
You and I had said, John Collins was exceptional last year, I thought, for the Jazz. I thought he really had a great approach. He figured out how to play with Walker Kessler. He was in a tough situation, as were all the veterans on the Jazz, on a team that was trying to lose games and, replace them with younger players. And I still thought he brought it when he was on the court. And I don't know if it was a successful 2-year run with the Jazz. The Jazz certainly didn't turn, him into a bigger trade. It did not end up working out for the team when they traded him for Rudy Gay and a very heavily protected second-round pick. The Jazz salary climbed from whatever $8 million they were paying Rudy to $26 million they were paying John, and all they're going to get out of it is another second-round draft pick. So it was a very expensive, probably flop from the Jazz, and I don't want to say a rebuke, but again, an understanding that the Jazz probably should have just trimmed the roster down to bare bones earlier in this process if they were going to be going through this process again, which is everything is designed for now maintaining and holding on to their top 8 pick next year so it doesn't get conveyed to the Oklahoma City Thunder. But you didn't have to attach an asset to get off of him like you did Colin Sexton, and you get to save a bunch of money because the contracts of Kevin Love and Kyle Anderson total about $13 million this season, and John's $26.5 million. So you get about $13 million back in a trade exception, which if you wanted to move, maybe that turns into another asset.
Talking about your point on breaking things down and when you do it, I wonder if there was just a misunderstanding on what the value on the market was, honestly. And I have a theory as to why, but the truth of the matter is the market for John Collins, Colin Sexton, and Jordan Clarkson just was not very good.
No.
And it was probably not very good all along, and the Jazz thought, you know what, it's going to improve or we can do better or whatever the case, and it just didn't come to fruition. And now you've just got to cut bait, which I think when you put it that way, it's much more understanding because you didn't mind having John Collins around. You didn't mind having Jordan Clarkson around. And frankly, in my opinion, John Collins got a lot better. He turned into a better player.
He did.
As a result of him being with the Jazz, and his value still wasn't all that high.
Right.
And so I don't know if I'd call it, certainly wouldn't call the John Collins signing a success per se, but what did it really cost them? They took a swing, hopefully this guy's value goes up. We can squeeze a first-round pick out of it. Sweet. Hot dog. And it just didn't play out that way because the market out there. My theory is that the new rules hit before the money hit.
Yeah.
And so
yes, that's exactly right.
They ran into this weird period of time where the penalty for being in the second apron or whatever, even frankly just being a luxury tax team, it's significant. And so teams are motivated not to just flush money down the toilet, which are the penalties, right? Exactly. So all of a sudden there's no market for anything because nobody wants to pay anybody because everybody is counting every nickel because basically every salary you're over the luxury tax is doubled depending on how many times you've been in the luxury tax. And that's not even including the second apron, which you've illustrated on the show a bunch of times. It's just paralyzing.
Yeah.
Because you can't do anything.
Right.
So none of these teams want to spend any money on anybody or, and it's this weird period where maybe you should have seen it coming, I guess, but I don't think those players ever had the value that they were hoping. It's like sitting on a piece of memorabilia. You're thinking, okay, in 10 years, it's going to be this. And then it turns out to not be that or whatever.
Buying baseball cards.
Yeah, that's
you
what
got
I'm
to
saying.
flip them
Yeah.
at the right time. You can't hold on to your Zach Wilson number 2 overall draft pick card too long, or it doesn't become worth anything. You got to know when to flip it. And look, that is the job of the front office. Your job is to acquire assets that either help you on the court or help you off the court. And I don't know if John Collins did either. And
Yeah, but it's not a big mistake.
no, it's not. The
It's
Jazz
not.
still accomplished their goal last season. They had the worst record in the NBA, even with John Collins on the roster. They fell to 5, but that wasn't John Collins' fault. That was a matter of lottery balls. And 2 years ago, yeah, are you mad that they drafted Cody Williams instead of getting a higher pick? Maybe. This is a terrible draft, and I'm not trying to excuse that, but it was a bad draft, and I actually thought Cody Williams looked okay over the weekend, so we can talk a little bit more about the Summer League, but no, the Jazz hoped John Collins would turn into something different. And even though he played well on the court, he still didn't yield any returns. And that's your job, again, as a front office member, is to predict what the market's going to be. And I think the Jazz mispredicted what the market would be. A, for John, and B, what type of contracts would have value going forward, which is why you had to pay to get off of Collin and why you didn't essentially get anything back for John Collins other than a second-round pick. And they were depleted on second-round picks. And they're going to save $13 million, which I'm sure makes Ryan Smith happy and should. They don't want to be paying an extra $13 million right now for a team that's expected to be one of the worst in the NBA and probably the worst in the Western Conference again next season. So in that sense, it was a successful adjustment by Austin Ainge to get the salaries lower once again, which gives you more flexibility. So, that's good work, honestly. And the Jazz weren't interested in having John Collins helping them win games. Or, as Austin Ainge announced in his press conference, his introductory press conference, he doesn't want to tank anymore. By altering the roster artificially game to game. There's nothing artificial about how inexperienced the Jazz roster is going to be next season. They're going to be one of, if not the youngest teams in the NBA.
Yeah, the definition of the word tanking is kind of funny.
Yeah.
Because what he was saying was losing on purpose.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is they're still tanking.
Correct. They're still prioritizing development and draft picks over winning games night to night.
But it's a startling admission because it really is saying they're done losing on purpose, which is icky.
Yeah.
And I'm not convinced is still, what's to say if this young group all of a sudden performs above its weight? Will they start submarining games again?
If you're going to finish with the 7th worst record in the NBA and have a much higher likelihood that you give up the pick to the Oklahoma City Thunder over the last 15 games of the season or 20 games of the season, you probably tank again. Lauri Markkanen doesn't see the floor. You play your two-way guys. So, yes, they will enter the season.
So
not
nothing is over, really. It all depends on the definition of the word tank.
I believe so.
All right. Well, good times. Good talk, Russ.
Yeah, anyways.
Hopefully Lowry plays 60 games.
Yeah, I think that's what they want. He hasn't played that many in a while. So, no, I think John Collins was not a problem here at all. I thought John actually really adjusted his game, and I'm excited to see him play with the Clippers in a contract year because playing next to James Harden should make him look very good. He's a good pick-and-roll player. And that's where he will be at his best. He spaces the floor next to Zubats, which is good, and they're a playoff team. So it's going to be advantageous for John to play on a winning team going into a contract year.
And Ty Lue is a good coach. So.
Very good, yeah.
No, it's a good situation for John.
Yep.
Easy guy to cheer for.
I would imagine the Jazz buy out Kevin Love. I have not confirmed that. And I would imagine Kyle Anderson is here, at least for the time being. That would be my guess.
What, they think Slow-Mo has value?
They do need a veteran in the backcourt. As much as they just tried to thin out their backcourt, he doesn't need to play a lot, but they're going to have issues just initiating the offense at times.
Ben, I can be a guy that just stands there.
It's kind of always what he's done because he is so slow.
Kind of stands there.
Yeah, but he's a smart passer. He kind of will move the ball. He'll make life easier for everyone around him.
You could have Christian just stand there, and he'd be significantly less expensive.
But he's not going to make anyone's life easier.
Who's to say Christian's a good guy?
I've
makes
been called a
our
locker
life
room
easier.
cancer before.
Yeah, cancer. Yeah.
I'd say Christian is a very good locker room guy.
So we like him.
Okay, so Slow-Mo, expect Kevin probably to be released.
I would think so.
But Slow-Mo's going to be on the team.
$4 million for Kevin Love. He played 23 games last year. In all honesty, he's just very into the roster emergency player. So let him pick his next team. Does he want to go back to Cleveland where he won a title? Does he want to go to Minnesota where he began his career? Does he want to go to L.A. where he went to college and join either the Clippers or the Lakers? There's options for him.
How likely is it that a Jazz player tries to punch him on the bench?
Kevin Love or Kyle Anderson?
One of those two players has been attacked on the bench, and it's not Kevin Love.
I don't think Kevin Love's been punched by anybody. Probably by somebody at some point.
But not just on the bench during a timeout.
Yeah, do you think Kyle Anderson calls Rudy Gobert to get advice on what he thought about Utah, or do you think that relationship is severed because Rudy punched him in a timeout? Just a great move.
I don't know. I know that they brought him back next year, and the storyline was all fluffy, but I have no idea. They also told us that Rudy and Donovan got lunch together all the time. Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. No, I think actually Kyle Anderson can be, if you care about veterans and, pups not raising pups, which clearly has gone out the window for the Jazz, and it's not a moniker they're living by because it's going to be all pups next year minus Lauri Markkanen and maybe Kyle Anderson. We can throw Nurkic into that conversation as well. But he can show guys a little bit. He can teach Isaiah Collier a little bit. He can teach Walter Clayton Jr. a little bit, I'm sure. Keontae George.
I think they need to bring in Nurk's old man to talk to the team.
Okay.
Stat. Love that guy. Just a mountain of a human.
Nurkic's dad?
Yeah.
I've not seen his father.
Well, this is why his origin story is my favorite.
Okay.
Because basically, as my understanding is, the long and short of it is this. He's from Bosnia-Herzegovina. Does that sound right?
Uh-huh.
His dad was a police officer. His dad beat up 14 guys at once.
Okay.
And got some notoriety for it, got his picture in the paper or something like that. And a basketball agent, a basketball guy showed up at his front door and said, if you have a son, I'd like to represent him.
According to the internet and my minimal research, his dad is 7 feet tall and 400 pounds.
You should find a picture of him.
Yeah, he looks massive.
Like if there was ever a candidate for a father to be hired as an agent, it's this guy. Like he's going to intimidate anybody. He walks into that room. Okay. All he has to do is say, 14 guys all at once. And this was Bosnia during the 90s. This was like...
Yeah. War-torn. Yeah. Yeah. In disarray.
So you're going to give my son every penny.
I have my doubts he's actually that big. But anyways.
I'm looking
at photos
honestly,
now.
He's huge.
No, he is huge. I'm looking at him now. He's an enormous person. 7 feet, 400 pounds is a real man, a real animal. I'm not quite getting that from these photos. Anyways, neither here nor there.
I can imagine. Yusuf Nurkic signs a max contract. Oh, I'm surprised. All the old man has to say is, I'll be waiting in the parking lot, and I'm telling you what, that deal's getting done.
Whatever you want.
Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, coming up next, we've got top 3 stories, including, of course, Summer League. Eager to get Ben's thoughts on what we saw.
Yeah.
Including VJ Edgecombe, who played quite well.
It's like the Kobe 60-point game. Just as many shots as you want.
Did PK yell, I've seen it all?
I don't think PK was there.
No, okay.
I didn't hear him.
Stay tuned. We'll get to that coming up next. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is DJ and PK.
Joined by Tim Lacombe.
You had to deal with honor code issues when you were coaching at BYU, obviously a high-profile one, and we just had a high-profile one.
I was curious to see how this one went down, just because things have shifted so much. Last Saturday, I was down in my guitar room. My wife yelled down, "Hey, someone's here to see you." In walked the new AD of BYU, Brian Santiago. We talked about the changes in college athletics. They definitely decided to be in the game, and I think a big part of that was they didn't want to be Vanderbilt of the Big 12. In this day and age, there's an opportunity to be above board with a lot of things. I guess what we learned is those honor code issues obviously still really important to BYU, and until that is changed, I think this is probably what we can expect on these high-profile situations.
Catch DJ and PK mornings from 6 to 10 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time to break down the biggest stories of the day. This is the top 3 stories of the day on KSLSports.com. On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Rebound, here comes Bailey. Ace to the front court. Ace in and out right-hand dribble, attacking the rack, fouled. No whistle, tip in, no, tip in, yes. Third try for Ace Bailey. Somebody grabbed on top of the rim and they didn't call the goaltend.
Get after him, David. There you go. That's our guy, David Locke. Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Time for the top 3 stories today at KSLSports.com. Brought to you by J. Brooks Jewelers. Cherish your love with J. Brooks Jewelers. Explore their expertly crafted engagement rings made from the finest materials. J. Brooks Jewelers. Christian, where do you want to start today?
Number 1, the first game of Summer League is in the books. How did the Pups look?
Good and bad. I think you got the full. We'll start with Ace Bailey because Ace Bailey's the draw here. You got the full Ace Bailey experience. It's exactly who he was at Rutgers, minus the shot went in a little bit more at Rutgers. But The flashes are obviously there. He is enormous on the court. When he is playing in the backcourt or the three, he is bigger than everyone else out there. And I think that's going to be the case for his entire career. He's got to get stronger, which you noted last week. But his height is very legitimate. And because of that, he can get his shot off over anybody. And he likes shooting the ball over anybody. And that's not always a plus, and he's going to have to figure that out. I do think you saw what his strengths are, though, in addition to his size. That highlight we just played, rebound and go in the open court at that size is really valuable and can be a plus for a team. That's going to be a positive for him. He knocked down an open three off the ball, which is very positive. The offensive rebound for the basket there. And then, maybe his best shot was cutting across the middle of the floor, catching the ball at the free throw line, turning, rising over everybody, and being truly head and shoulders above everyone else and knocking down a little 15-footer. And those were his three makes. And then he missed 10 other shots. I think that's what the Jazz should do early on. His best basketball came playing off the ball. Cuts, open threes in the corner, offensive rebounding. When you're asking him, though, right now to create early in his career, I think he's going to struggle.
I don't think any of that. I think you're right on the money. However, my response is, at least for this, the foreseeable future, is I don't care about his shooting or shot selection, or I don't care about any of that. And I'll tell you why in a second. But what I do care about is the 7 rebounds. That's what I do care about.
Yeah.
It says he's got a little nose for the ball, but most importantly, in a summer league game where he's fighting some nerves, probably we can talk about that. Great reception from the Jazz fan, probably fighting that a little bit. And he's like, okay, my response is, well, I'll go grind out some boards because I can do that.
Yeah.
I can hustle. I can make an athletic block. I can do all these things that I can control. When maybe, I don't know, call it shot selection or shooting or whatever the case. That's, in my opinion, all coachable stuff. Sometimes, making the wise decision to pour it on in other places and go hunt out 7 boards and that sort of thing doesn't come naturally to guys who might not be playing their best offensive game. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I think that sort of thing is really important in the big, physical, long, strong stuff. All you just talked about is 100% relevant. But shot selection, Ben, that's coachable. I bet you, and I don't know this for a fact, but I bet you Ace Bailey hasn't been actually coached since he was like 12.
Probably.
Coming up through the AAU and stuff like that, you're not guaranteed good coaching.
No, at all.
And then you get into the sycophantic world of shoes and all this stuff, and all of a sudden nobody can coach you. And I'm not saying Ace specifically because, again, I don't know. But nobody feels like they can coach you because you have all the power and you're relevant. And if he makes you run ladders or whatever, don't want him to get bent out of shape. You know what I mean? I don't know if he's actually had some real coaching in a long time. Did he get coached at Rutgers? I mean, he was the NIL superstar. You think anybody actually had the stones to really get after it? And I'm not saying, I'm not talking like Rick Majerus, but
Sure.
I'm talking about, have a little discipline and get on you a little bit and go do the things you need to do to be great. I don't know if he's got did anybody in the AAU say, Ace, you can't take that shot, dude.
Well,
it's a terrible shot. Has he ever even heard that? I don't know.
When was it not the best idea for him to shoot?
That's what I'm
Probably
saying.
at this point in his life, never. Until this last game, him shooting those shots was always the right decision. Right. Until what happened on Saturday night.
He just signed his long-term deal. Will Hardy can coach him.
Yeah,
that staff can coach him and get after it a little bit and talk about his shot selection and have the leverage to do so. And I'll tell you, when he gets to the regular season, the locker room will, in a way, ensure that he doesn't take some of those shots.
Yeah, of course.
And when you're the big deal on your AAU team, the locker room is whatever because you're the one who's getting all the attention and doing all the things. In an NBA locker room, you can't get away with some of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I would argue that LaMelo Ball got terrible coaching his entire,
of course,
experience. Even going overseas, where did he go? Australia or whatever, where he could just dominate the ball and take 30 shots. It was like LeVar's thing was that he was allowed to take 30 shots or however many shots a game. And then he comes into the NBA and plays the exact same way because nobody in Charlotte is willing to coach him either.
Right.
And we wonder why they suck, even though they should start being good. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The Jazz can get a hold of this guy and you hope give the right coaching, and all of a sudden he cuts out some of that stuff and he takes better shots and he figures out the things you're talking about. That stuff, get him around the right coaches. I think that stuff fixes itself almost. You know what I mean?
I think he's going to be coachable. He said all the right things after the game. He was extraordinarily excited that they won after the game. Said all the right things. So everything I've heard, and then my brief experiences with him now, which is I've met him 3 times, he's just gregarious and enjoyable and thrilled. And, that's first-year stuff. That's every first-year player right now. And we'll see how long that sticks around. But all of the pre-draft stuff of concern about, being in Utah, it's gone. He wants to be here. He's happy to be here. He likes this opportunity. He was not frustrated that he was on the bench for most of the fourth quarter. He did not play crunch time for the Jazz. They were trying to win that game. They put guys out there with a chance to win that game, and they found a way to break through.
I find how this Omar Cooper saga is playing out really funny / fascinating.
Can I issue an apology to Omar Cooper Jr.? I feel like I owe him one.
Why? Because you doxed the wrong guy?
Well, no. That was actually not my fault.
Oh, you missed that, Christian. Ben
I did see it on social media, yeah.
So there was an assistant coach at the Jazz shagging balls. Not even an assistant coach, a guy helping with practice. I asked somebody within the Jazz if that was Sharif Cooper, and they told me yes. It wasn't. It was his twin brother, I believe, or his brother, Omar Cooper Jr. Regardless, still Omar Cooper's son. Omar Cooper is the manager of Ace Bailey.
Right.
So I was misinformed, given bad info, but that was also my fault. I could have triple-checked it.
Hashtag fake news, yeah.
Regardless, I was the one who recognized it. And the NBA, after I kind of brought it up to the people at the Jazz, everyone reported it who was at practice that day. And the NBA apparently called the Jazz and said, you can't do that. So I'd like to apologize to Omar Cooper Jr. for ruining his opportunity to get his foot in the door. I think you'll be fine, and I'm rooting for you at McNeese State, where I think he's going to be a GA.
I had no idea. You were like Hatch and the sandwich delivery guy.
Yes, I've set him back.
Like he had a job before he encountered Ben Anderson,
that was
and
not
now he
my
does
intention.
not. Wow, I didn't even think about that.
My apologies.
Oh. All right, I got to admit, I completely screwed that up.
So we will have to continue to break this down.
As much as I'd like to feed your ego, I don't know if that's it.
No.
That you brought it to light. Honestly, as important as you are, I think this is the NBA's way, in a weird way, of dealing with the matter of Omar. Let me give you an example. My wife, being an attorney for a company, she has to be the bad guy a lot. She has to be the one to say no.
Right.
And sometimes it's not popular for execs to necessarily say no, but it gets handed to the lawyer and the lawyer says no, and they go, well, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, hands are tied.
I tried.
Sure.
I went to bat for you. The big bad lawyer said no. It wouldn't surprise me if this were, like we talked about it last week, this is Jazz's way of making Ace comfortable. But the issue of the advice he's getting from Omar Sr. is at issue, Mm-hmm. So this might be a way the NBA has to be the bad guy and steps in and says no. And we'll see what the next chapter is. But my initial thought was this is the NBA doing what, honestly, the NBA is supposed to do. And that's like you make judgments on difficult decisions and you end up being the unpopular one or the bad guy. Like Roger Goodell is incredible at this skill.
Yes.
I'll make the tough decision, take the heat, whatever. I'll be the bad guy. I don't care. You pay me $50 million a year or whatever it is. I'll take some bad press.
We'll have to continue to break this down. Jazz play the Grizzlies tonight at 7 p.m. in Game 2 of the 3-game series that they play, including tomorrow night. We need to break down Flip, Bryce Sensabaugh, Walter Clayton. There's a lot to talk about.
How did it go with Monster Jam being up there?
I got up there at like 4.
So you were good.
I was fine, but I was up there all night. But it was busy. If you're coming up, order food early because the places ran out of food up at Huntsman Center.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, so if you want to go up and eat, grab food early. That would be my recommendation. And the lines are long, so be prepared for that.
Well, they'd probably fix it maybe a little bit, right? Although you can't recapture opening night.
Yeah, right. Probably won't be as busy tonight. Also.
Okay. All right, good time. So there you go. In fact, the Thunder Sixers are game number 1 at 5 o'clock, and then the Jazz and the Grizz is the nightcap.
Yeah.
At 7 up there at Huntsman Center.
Yeah.
So make sure and check it out. All right, what's next?
Number 2, more on the Jazz offloading John Collins. Lauri Markkanen is now the lone vet in the locker room.
We'll see if Kyle Anderson is on the roster, and Kevin Love we'll see as well.
And Big Nurk, Christian.
And Big Nurk.
Well, I mean, from previous Jazz rosters.
I see.
But yeah, let's walk down the roster really quick and just who's on the team still and who's not on the team. Kyle Filipowski, Bryce Sensabaugh, Isaiah Collier, Keontae George, Yusuf Nurkic, Walker Kessler, Cody Williams, Lauri Markkanen, Kyle Anderson. I'm not even going to include Kevin Love in this conversation. Svi Mikhailuk, can't underrate VHT and what he brings to the roster. KJ Martin's still on the team. I don't expect that to be for long. Jaden Springer's on the Summer League team. I don't expect that to be for very long. Taylor Hendricks, Ace Bailey, and Walter Clayton Jr. Walter Clayton.
Okay.
So, yeah, youth. Jazz are absolutely gearing up for another high draft pick next year.
What are the odds the Jazz move Lowry? And maybe they're low. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. I'm not implying anything by asking that question.
I do think the Jazz want Lowry to shoulder a big offensive responsibility. So it's not on everybody on this young Jazz roster to carry a lot of scoring. So that's going to be very difficult. And I think you can ruin guys if you have no orientation of a system. So I think that will help them. And then you want to rebuild his value. I think you do want to see Lowry get out there and get back over 20 points a game and have some efficiency if he can. And then you move him. But I think you'd probably like to have some sense of who the guys are around him before.
But we talked about the mistake, quote unquote, that was made was not just moving on from guys.
Yeah.
So they're biting the bullet and moving on from veterans. I mean, I agree with you. I don't expect a Lowry trade, but why would Lowry be any different? You think, he could get more value for him.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that.
But that's just what
maybe they should have moved him last summer. I mean, maybe they've already passed that point where his best value was before they signed him to the 4-year, $200 million deal or 5-year, $200 million deal, and he's going to be harder and harder to trade every year, especially if he doesn't get his value back on the court. So, could be a mistake.
All right.
Yeah, we'll see.
He will carry an offensive load.
He will, and he's still good. And you did still see Kevin Durant moved. You did still see some big players move this offseason. I think if you're an all-star caliber player and Lowry can get there, I think you still have value.
All right, what's next?
Number 3, MVP Dybantsa.
AJ Dybantsa was the MVP for the U19 club, but was actually not that good. He's huge. He's dominant in this game. I don't think he put a stamp on being the number 1 overall pick next year. He does not shoot the three particularly well. He averaged 14 points and 4 rebounds in these games. I watched the game Saturday morning. Must have been Saturday morning. Maybe it was even Friday because we had the day off. But he's just a little loose right now. He's a little wild right now. I was a little confused about what his approach was, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And he's great getting downhill. It's his best move. His body movement reminds me a lot of Pascal Siakam. So he's not the tight type of athlete that you see from a LeBron James or even a Cooper Flag. He's just a little looser than that. So he's young, and he's got to get stronger, and that's all part of it. And he's still going to be exceptional at BYU next year. I think he's going to be a very good player, but he's just not quite – I'm not sure he has counters to all of his moves yet. There's just not a fully developed game there the way I think some people may be expecting.
I don't know what people expect, I suppose, but I mean, he's 17.
Yeah, he's a kid. He is a kid.
Well, honestly, even in the one and done era, when was the last true freshman that was fully equipped to be an NBA guy? Anthony Davis,
Cooper
maybe?
Flag. I mean, Cooper was so good this year. It was crazy. He led his team in all 5 categories. But he is the extraordinarily rare exception. And it's why I've said all along, do not expect AJ Dybantsa to be Cooper Flag.
Well, and Dybantsa's a different human.
He is.
I would argue his ceiling is way higher than Cooper Flag's.
Might be. He can score better.
More athletic.
Yeah.
And no offense to Cooper Flag.
No.
He's just, AJ is...
He is. He's more athletic.
He's the unicorn. I mean, it's like Giannis isn't as skilled as Jason Tatum, but arguably way better because he's...
more physically gifted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, depends on what BYU does with him. This is where Kevin Young really needs to make his money on the development standpoint. Is you need to send AJ to the league a better player than he was. Not for for AJ's sake certainly, but not only for his sake, but also for the sake of his message. This is the message BYU is sending. You're going to get paid here, and you're going to develop for the next level. And that's the killer recipe, right? So we'll see.
But I'm really excited to see him play next to Richie Saunders and Robert Wright and play against with Kaba Keita and play against all these very good players in the Big 12. I'm excited to see him go up against Darren Peterson at Kansas, who's the other guy in the running for the number 1 pick. So this is going to be a very fun opportunity and cool situation for BYU.
Stay tuned. More Jake and Ben coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Accessing. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
The immediate resolve of this is best case scenario for Jake, Retzlaff, and for BYU. We were thinking that this civil suit would tie him up to past 2026, and that would hamper him, and that would leave BYU on the hook for questions. BYU'd have to answer, well, yeah, we don't know, 2-3 weeks into the season, is Jake Retzlaff, how's the civil suit? Is it going to get resolved? If it does get resolved, will he be eligible? And then the same questions for Jake. Now at Big 12 Media Day, we can start talking about Trayson Bourget. We can start talking about McKay Hillstead. It could be, hey, so Jake's gone? Yeah, Jake's gone. Okay, so tell me about this Bear kid that you brought in for Stanford, and how does he fit into Aaron Roderick's system? And what does the quarterback room look like now that Retzlaff's gone? And we're talking football.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Who's got it better than us? Nobody!
Your home for the best sports coverage in Utah. You're listening to Jake Scott and Ben Anderson on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Jake and Ben, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Nominate the U Sports volunteer for the Hercules Hero of the Week. Submit your nomination at kslsports.com/contest and listen every Thursday to JJ and Alex for the winner. Help us celebrate the efforts of those volunteers making an impact with the Hercules Hero of the Week, sponsored by Hercules First Federal Credit Union and Beehive Meals. Ben, I told you I was talking to you off the air. I had a chance to go catch a Bees game, my first live-action baseball game out there at the new ballpark, the ballpark at America First Square. Tell you what, parking, 2 thumbs up.
Okay. Well, is it like a parking lot or what?
Yeah, big parking lots all over the place. Accessibility, considering that's not my neighborhood out there and I'm not, all that familiar with every twist and turn, I wasn't sure how accessibility was going to be. It was terrific. Getting in and out was super easy.
Good.
They did a really nice job on, we were having a random architecture conversation off the air. Like the architecture of it and all the design. It actually reminded me a lot of Smith's Ballpark, particularly on the inside. But it was nice. Concessions, they've streamlined that. So
recommendations, though, for our listeners if they haven't gone down yet?
Check it out.
Check it out.
It's cool. It's a good experience. We had obviously, family, that's what they're all about.
Did you bring anything? Sunglasses? Shade?
Sunglasses. Well, we went to a day game, you know what I mean? So it was quite hot.
Yeah.
But it was cool. It was fun. The backdrop is still pretty. Maybe not quite as good as Smith's Ballpark because that was one of the best, but
fun.
But fun.
Good.
Really had a nice time.
Who are they playing?
Tacoma.
Okay.
Now on the field, the Bees, they struggled.
Need some work.
They really struggled. Pitching might be, if I was betting futures for the Anaheim Angels on if their pitching staff would be good, I would say at the moment no.
Or maybe they've called up all their best players. Maybe all the talent's in the bigs.
I don't know. We should talk to our guy Tony Parks, but I have no idea. They struggled yesterday, though.
Okay.
There was at least one inning that lasted like 45 minutes. Just gave up a grand slam. Just blasted.
But the girls had fun?
Oh, yeah. Great time.
Good.
We sat next to one. He was like a row or two behind us, the one Tacoma Rainiers fan in the.
Okay.
It's like singing "Take Me Out of the Ball Game," He goes, "Cheer, cheer, cheer for the Rainiers." I was like, the one.
Son was on the team or something.
I was like, what?
Yeah,
right.
right.
Do you travel with the Rainiers?
A true diehard.
Are you that guy?
Yeah.
Anyway, that was kind of weird. It was fun though. I enjoyed it.
Baseball's great.
Watching baseball in person is great.
Did you get a dog?
No, I went to burger. I don't know. I was feeling burger, but they've got everything. I went barbecue. They've dogs. They've got Chicago dogs. I mean, obviously, ice cream is at the ready.
Yeah, I'm excited to go. I haven't been yet.
It's worth a trip.
Yeah,
it's not bad. All right, so there you go. I'm filling you in. I feel like on what's going on with the Bees.
Good to know.
Not good pitching.
Bad pitching.
Meatballs.
That goes game to game, though. You never know.
True. Maybe they've got an ace, and I just saw
off.
him on an off day.
Maybe they just had an off day. So
They actually have a bullpen now, which I'm kind of disappointed about, to be honest.
Oh, they don't have the guy just pitching on the side.
No.
That was
Which was my favorite part because, one, you could yell at the pitchers warming up or the bullpen catcher, which we did from time to time. And then the produce race is totally impacted because that used to be the most entertaining thing is watching the stupid ear of corn trip over the mound in the bullpen.
Yeah.
That was like the you'd see the eggplant out in front by 2 or 3 lengths.
The true draw.
And then that bullpen mound would come out of nowhere and get you.
But no fruit race?
No, they did the fruit race.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They
it's just
don't
less
have the mound.
entertaining
Okay,
now.
okay.
Because the mound isn't there.
Sure, it's even ground.
Yeah.
It's not as enjoyable.
Right.
Need hurdles.
It used to be a must-watch. Not saying it isn't anymore. I mean,
But we need a trip line.
yeah, you need something to even it up.
Okay.
That's like coming down the home stretch of the Kentucky Derby and, all of a sudden that horse
a
decides
pothole.
not to run. Well, I didn't want to get gruesome with the horse. I regretted that analogy instantly. But watching the guy in the cherry costume or whatever trip over is quite hilarious.
Yeah. To the glue factory for the grape guy.
But yeah, then the bullpens look nice though.
Yeah, good.
They were like shaded too. That was another part of it where you had to look at the bullpen pitchers just sweat it out there.
There is a little sacrifice for you want the players to be happy, and I'm sure the Angels are very happy to have a world-class ballpark for their team to play in the minors. On the flip side, you might hurt some fan enjoyment.
Because you want to see them sweating it out there?
You were 5 feet away from the players while they were warming up, which was great. Anyways. Oh, good. I'm glad you went.
I could yell at them in person, stop serving up those meatballs.
Is that underhand?
All right, stay tuned. More Jake and Ben. Lots of basketball news today. We'll get to it all coming up next. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.